And you are live.
Frontenac. If you know the three. Hi, Neil.
Hi there. I'm having some issues with my speaker.
Sorry, I just had a call from Mr. Allen, who's unable to get his microphone to work. So he's going to log off the meeting and try and log back on with his telephone. But Councillor McDonald, would you be able to just take the chair until he logs back on? I know that you had joined in as chair before in his absence.
Sure, I'll do that. With that, I will call the meeting to order. And I would like a motion from someone to adopt the agenda. Someone move that. So moved by David and second by Jerry. All in favor? Ed?
Yes.
Okay, it's adopted. Are there any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof by any member of the committee on any item listed on today's agenda?
No.
The minutes will indicate no disclosures. Then I need a motion to adopt the minutes. Could I have someone move a motion? David, seconder. Jerry. So any discussion on that motion? Any errors or omissions as noted by anyone? All in favor of the motion then?
Yes.
Motion's carried. Do we have any deputations, Jeanette, on today's meeting?
No, there are no deputations. And the next item in terms of briefings, I noticed that there is nobody here from Central Frontenac and Mr. Greer is not in attendance. So I think we need to bypass that item.
Now, item 6A, then we will pass by and I will, are you ready to take over the chair, Neil?
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay?
Oh, yes.
you can.
Okay,
So
perfect.
we're at number seven in the agenda.
All right, thank you very much. I apologize for that, everybody.
No problem.
All right, number 7, reports to the Accessibility Advisory Committee. Jeanette, did you say you had something to report on in regards to that?
I do. So the first item up on the agenda here is our 2023-2028 our multi-year accessibility plan that is a requirement under the Act. So there's a report in front of the committee as well as a draft plan. So basically there's many of the changes that have been made to this plan are some minor typos and updates. I'm just going to pull it up here. Is it okay if I share my screen and then we can?
Sure.
Okay, so everybody is seeing the multi-year plan up on my screen now?
Yes.
So I have it in a marked up version. So one of the things that I have added here is that the document is available in alternate formats upon request. Something that was missed on the last one, but is required under the Act as well. The only other change under the introduction is a little bit of a blurb here regarding the disability standards regulation, that we are required to follow those regulations and that we are required, along with our member municipalities, to have this plan. As as far as under here, we've updated the population, and I've just taken out the annual census because that changes regularly. The other thing that I have added here, and this is more so the county, but it has been as well provided to the townships as an option. Councillor Martin and Councillor McDonald, you will know or seen through County Council that we have a Lean Six Sigma program here, which staff are continually trained on. So the culture at the county through that program is that we are always looking at continuous improvement. So that as well goes along with our accessibility initiatives as too. So we're always looking at ways on how we can improve and how we can do things better. So I just wanted to put that blurb in there that the county does have this culture of continuous improvement. So whenever we see items regarding accessibility where they can be improved, we will be looking at that as well. So I've just added that little blurb in there. The information on the townships really didn't change. Their demographics and their services have not changed over the last 4 years. There's just a couple of typos here. Rather than having to remove or prevent as many barriers as possible, I just wanted to add that we're going to continue to do this. Continue to remove barriers.
Mr. Chair, Bill here. Janet, before you move on the population, given the when do they do population counts? Because we in Central Frontenac, North Frontenac, and of course South Frontenac have seen a tremendous bloom in building activity. How often do they actually do the census in regard to population base?
I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe the last one was done in 2016 is sticking into my head. But again, when we capture population, sometimes that population it doesn't capture seasonal residents. So I'm not sure what your boom is looking like. In terms of the township populations, I wouldn't update that. That would be up to township staff. So there were no updates done when this was sent around. So
Right. Okay. Fully understood. Thank you.
But I can reach out to them once again and see if there's any other updates that they wanted to see. The only other
Can I make a comment?
Yes, for sure.
I want to make a comment. We heard in 2020 that our population had gone up by about 20%. That's a lot of people because we have, as referred to Councillor McDonald, a lot of our building permits now are seasonal residents being converted to permanent full-time. And as a result, our population, we were told, went up by about 20%. And that's a lot of people. It's a huge difference, really. I just wanted to let.
For sure. So I will put in my note here that I will confirm with township staff about the population. And then I will, so I'll reach out to the township staff and say, you know, these are the comments from the committee, and can you look at your respective township pages and see if there's any updates needed. I took out the little blurb that the Accessibility Advisory Committee is paid a per diem. I don't think the public needs to know that. So I've just taken it out. And then I've also put in here a new thing about barriers. So there was no barriers listed in the last plan. In the last plan, what we did have were projects. So for example, there might have been 3 projects that were anticipated to be done over the next 4 years. So we've taken out those specific projects because as we've seen over the last 4 years, we could plan to do things, but with budget cuts or with budget constraints and with COVID happening over the last 4 years, we never know what's going to happen in the future. We don't want to overpromise and undercommit. So as opposed to having projects on there, we're just going to look at this as a high level. So at a high level, we have in there a blurb about barriers. And it does state that the purpose of this plan is to prevent, identify, and remove barriers. And then it talks about barriers when we think of both visible and invisible barriers. So it could be invisible barriers like people not being able to access our documents because they're not fully accessible. Or it could be a visible barrier where there's no access into a building because there's a stair and somebody with a mobility aid is not able to enter that. So that was, so that blurb sort of covers that. And then it says we will focus to develop a culture that places more focus on accessibility awareness and a more unified approach to accessibility. So as we've seen right now, even at all levels, whether it's the county or the townships, there doesn't seem to be that focus on accessibility, and it needs to be the accessibility staff that are pushing other staff to say, have you looked at this through an accessibility lens? So this may even involve, you know, changing our report templates when there's an accessibility feature on it. I know with when County Council hears about the Kmp Trail, we always have that accessibility piece in there, but we don't necessarily have it in other things such as planning applications, or I'm not sure what else would go through the townships. So we just have that on there that we're going to focus more on having that accessibility lens. Then the other change that we had made was these tables that we've had. So these tables basically lay out all of the different standards. And so again, at a higher level, as opposed to pointing out specific projects, we've pointed out barriers where they can be identified. So for example, under the information communication standard, the big thing there is our website and our information and communication standard itself. So we want to make sure that our websites remain accessible. We want to make sure that we're remediating PDF documents to be accessible, ensuring that all of our web content is accessible. We want to take the action of using a software such as the Adobe Acrobat Pro DC that ensures accessible documents. And we're going to, again, be taking actions to ensure that staff are fully trained on how to do this. And speaking just at the county level, we have spent a lot of time training staff on how to create accessible documents through this Adobe Acrobat Pro. And they also have, and I believe it's in my update report coming up, we also have 7 people going for specific Adobe training next Thursday to ensure that our documents are accessible. So that was one of the things that we have under information communication. In terms of design of public spaces, we've listed the trails and beaches. So these are all things that are found under that design of public spaces. So for example, trails and beaches. We're going to ensure that we continue to consult with the AAC actions to be taken for the county itself. There's going to be improvements on accessibility to the Kmp Trail program. We want to explore options for improvements for our outdoor spaces, and this includes trails, it includes playgrounds and eating areas. And then we also want to explore options for improvement to our accessible spaces. And then in terms of customer service, the big one there is feedback. So we always want to promote public engagement, and we do use this as well through our Engage Frontenac websites. Those are the websites where where the township or county put programs or projects up there where the public can make on. And then again, focusing on staff training. So these are the specific things that we're going to take action on over the next few years. Again, ensuring that all staff are fully trained on the AODA as well as the Human Rights Code, which is mandated under the legislation. And then under employment, we're going to, again, have that commitment to accessible employment practices. We're going to continue ongoing efforts to encourage a diverse workforce. And we're also going to continue to promote and support that diverse workforce as well. So we've added this blurb in here because we are the employer, the Frontenacs, not the county, but the Frontenacs, we are the employer. So we just have that additional blurb in there that we will continue to advertise on all of our employment opportunities the way that should be advertised, letting people know that accommodations are available if needed for any part of the employment process, whether it's the recruitment, whether it's the assessment, whether it's the selection, or whether it's the retention. And that, of course, continues to use work modification plans for those employees who do have a disability and can come back to work with a modified plan. So those are the suggested changes that we have made, and this will of course come, this will of course come out here. So this is what we had in the last plan, where we set out specific projects. But again, we can't always commit to that because life happens. As you saw over the last several years, COVID hit and a number of projects just didn't, priorities shifted for whatever reason because of COVID. And we can't say that that's not going to happen again in the future as well. So it's more, I think, sustainable for us to do this, look at this more at a higher level, to say we will continue to do this. We will continue to put an accessibility lens on everything that we do and move things forward that way. Excuse me. So those were some of the changes, or in terms of the draft plan that came up in staff conversations. But now again, I would open it up to the committee to say, have we captured everything? If you look in the report itself, and I'm going to just stop sharing my screen now because we do all have that in front of us. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And in terms of the report itself, I think most of these things are noted in there, but as I did note in the report, we did have a project up on the Engage Frontenac website in terms of our multi-year plan to solicit feedback from the public. We also put up a survey up there, and as you can see, the survey questions were up there. So at the writing of this report, and even to date, we've only had one person that filled out the survey, and that person was from South Frontenac. And again, their comments are captured there, but those would be more specific project-oriented items. So as it's noted in the report, the response to the survey, the user identified that they lived in South Frontenac, that the services lacking related to mobility and walker and hearing loss. So those were the services that were lacking. I don't think there's a lot that the committee or the county or the townships can do in terms of what services are available in a municipality. In terms of hearing loss. So for example, I don't know if there's any hearing agencies in the township of South Frontenac, but those were the services where they felt it was lacking. The issues they would like to bring forward are ensure handicap parking and keep well cleaned in the winter, the ramps. Big issue with telephone service. Often people speak too quickly and not distinctly. And I believe that was all of the comments that they had on the survey. So if there's any questions on that, I really am looking to the committee to say, you know, does this capture the intent of what a multi-year plan is?
Leave meeting.
Mr. Chair, Bill here, through you to Jeanette. I noticed in the report, and it noted that in 2017, Central Front and North Frontenac shall confirm to the WCAG, and I'm just wondering if that has actually happened yet, because it seemed like it'd be 5-6 years ago that was in that report. Should that number change, or the date?
I'm not sure. Again, it goes out to township staff, and there were no changes made by them. So you can
Okay.
the township staff.
I will follow up with the township staff then. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Question?
Go, Councillor Martin.
Yeah, I have a question. This survey, accessibility survey, was that included or was it sent out to the township websites?
Yes, it was. It was on all 5 Engage Frontenac websites.
Okay, I don't remember reading it. That's why I asked the question.
I believe it was. I can very quickly check. Let me just,
It's one person to respond. That's not a very good response. And usually we have quite a few people that follow the websites. That's why I'm asking the question.
so it was on Central's Engage Frontenac site. It was on, let me just check North here, because we do send out emails to each of the,
Okay,
yes, it's on
Okay.
North as well. So it is on your Engage site.
okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Would there be a better way to try and get this awareness of the survey out?
I'm really not too sure. I know that Darlene has her hand up there, so Mr. Allen, so
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
just wondering perhaps Darlene has a thought on this as well.
Hi, Darlene. Go ahead, Darlene.
Hello. I think some of the confusion lies with the Engage Frontenac website and the township website. There seems to be a disconnect, and I think a lot of people don't utilize the Engage Frontenac. They just go to your township website. So I'm not sure what the connection be. If you could link it to the actual township website, and maybe they are, I don't know. But to me, Engage Frontenac and Central Frontenac, if they could be linked together, I think that would be a better exposure, because one doesn't always go to both, right?
So just to add to that, I know our communications officer did heavy social media plugs on this. So when I say it's on the Engage Frontenac website, it's on the county's Engage site. It's on all 4 township Engage sites as well. So anybody who's going on your township website, if you're driving them to that Engage, for example, Engage Frontenac Islands, it's on the Frontenac Islands web Engage website as well. In terms of putting it on your own specific township websites, that would be up to the township staff as well.
I think that's probably where the disconnect is. They're only going to one website, and that's always the problem. When they have too many, then they're not linked together, then they don't think it's there. And really, you can't get people to look. So I find that's a real problem too. There's only so much a person can do to get involvement, and just putting it on a website doesn't seem to work very well.
No, and as I mentioned, I know that our communications officer did heavy communication platforms on our Facebook page. He went out and he had it on, I believe it was on our website, but it was heavily promoted through our social media channels as well, through Facebook, through Twitter, all of those things. And again, that's just at the county level. I'm not sure what happens at I can't speak for the townships, but I know at the county level, our communications officer did do quite a few plugs on this. And again, and I believe he was at the last meeting as well, and he spoke to this one. And it was at that last meeting actually where he had suggested that we do a survey as opposed to just an Engage site where people can put comments. So it was after that meeting that we added the survey.
I wonder if we didn't send it out to the different agencies that we have, like the transport, the people that are looking for transportation services, and promote it that way, like actually giving them something instead of having to go onto a website to do it, is sometimes helpful.
Yeah.
I think you're right, but obviously what we're doing doesn't work.
Well, through you, Mr. Chair, to Janet, in regards to the report of engagement, when we get our monthly report at County Council or from the CAO's report, we do have a tremendous number of engagements at the county level. Now, I can't remember whether there's a breakout in regard to how many might be searching for accessibility information. I really can't tell you that, but we certainly do have a huge number of engagements at the county level. So I just want to make that comment. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And again, so when I provide the AODA training to new staff, because at the county itself, we do have a monthly, what we call new hire orientation. So anybody new to the county, we do it monthly. And as part of that monthly new hire orientation, they do receive AODA training from myself. And so as part of that training, I like to include the statistics where it states that, 15.5% of the population live with a disability. So when you look at the county's population, that's about 4,000 people in the county who are living with some form of a disability, but it really doesn't get into what the disability is. It just is a general statistic from the province that tells us that 15.5% of the population lives with a disability. And of course, as we know, with the population continually coming to age, that number is expected to rise. Now, whether or not we're not reaching those people, I don't know. I don't know what the disabilities really would look like in terms of, if people aren't having an issue in their community, they're maybe not tending to look at this sort of thing. But, we're so vastly different than large urban centers where people flock to get services, right? So, I really don't know what more to add, except we're just not reaching people. And you'll hear it as well with the next report, with the update report, that we have the same issue in terms of now promoting our 2022 Access Award. We just don't seem to get any uptake on these things. But other than that, in terms of comments, I do have it here that I will check up with the townships in terms of updating their populations if that's not the correct ones. And I also have in my notes here to check with Central Frontenac in terms of their website compliance.
Okay. Do you want a motion then to endorse that multi-year plan?
We do. So there is a motion there for the county, or sorry, for the committee to endorse the plan currently, but it does say subject to additional comments and input from the committee. So we can just have it that you endorse the plan. I'm just trying to think how to word this in terms of updating. So how about we put that the Joint Frontenac Accessibility Advisory Committee endorse the proposed 2023-2028 multi-year accessibility plan, subject to confirmation around population numbers and website compliance.
Mr. Chair, I concur with the opening statement there. Subject to additional comments and input by the committee members at this meeting would probably cover all the points that Jeanette just read.
Yes, absolutely. Okay.
And I will move that motion, by the way.
Okay.
And is there a seconder for that motion?
I will.
David, and David would be the second. Okay.
And Mr. Allen, you just need to call the question.
Oh, okay. And all in motion then, or all in favor, I should say.
Yes, I'm in favor.
All right, perfect. So we just move on to
So the next report is just the quarterly update report that I provide, and this is basically what's been happening in the county. So the first one you can see there is regarding the Kmp Trail. So we are in phase 2, and council did receive a report on this at its last meeting, but we are in phase 2 of this grant that the county did receive for the Kmp Trail. So some of the improvements that you can see there will be accessibility upgrades to the Verona Trailhead. There's also road crossing improvements, some edge protection, which was missing, and that is a real safety issue for those on the trail. There's also the inclusion of park benches, as well as the trail counters. So the trail counters are going to really let us see exactly how many people are using that trail. It may not seem like an accessibility upgrade, but when we can figure out how many people are using the trail and where they're most being used and how they're using it, can really help towards accessibility. If we find out that the majority of people using the trail are using, because I believe those counters will capture if you're on a bike or if you're walking or if you're on an ATV.
Where all
So
will
that could let us know. I'm sorry, what was that, Mr. Allen?
what all locations would they be placed at?
I'm not sure where the trail counters are. He has here that they're going to be installed at constant intervals along the trail and near the busy access points.
Okay.
So where people are getting on and off the trail as well.
Okay.
So as you can see there in the report, there's a total value for this project of $828,000 over 4 years. And of that, the federal government contributed $331,000 and the provincial government contributed $276,000, just shy of. So the county's portion is expected to be $220,827 over the next 4 years. So we are using the accessibility reserves for this because the majority of things that we do now in terms of buildings, we make sure that they're already accessible. So for example, the county is redoing its administration building, but all of the accessibility is built into the budget. So council has really committed to using this reserve now so that we can leverage granting opportunity when accessibility upgrades or grants become available for the trail such as this. So that's where that the majority of that reserve is being used for now. So it really does help us leverage, as you can see there, some really large funding sources from other levels of government. And then, of course, there's just some pictures in there. So there's a picture of, did you want me to share my screen so that you can see the pictures?
Sure.
So as you can see here, this is where we've done the edging along the trail. These are some improvements to the Verona Trailhead. And I missed checking with Deb, but there will be accessible parking signage going up there as well. As you can see here, this is where your accessible parking will be. And there's a median in there as well so that people who, they have that buffer zone so that somebody can get in and out of their vehicle who's using a mobility aid. Here's more of how the edging is going to look or is looking. And this is the park benches that are going out there as well. So they are able to accommodate anybody who's out there walking. So I think that was it. So, and then the next one I believe I've already spoken about here, which is the conversion of accessible documents. So we continue to remediate all of our PDFs at the county. I do know that we do have a training session next Thursday, October the 13th, and there will be 7 administrative staff who will be going to that training to ensure that moving forward, all of our documents that are going up on our website will be in an accessible format. So the 7 admin staff, there's 2 staff going from Fairmount Home, 2 staff going from Frontenac Paramedics, and then there's 4 staff going from the administration building that covers corporate and planning and ECDEP.
Where's that training being done?
That's at New Horizons, so it's just on Progress Avenue in the city of Kingston. It used to be Learning Brick, and they have merged now with New Horizons. So we have done training there in the past for computer programming, for certain computer programs. So they do offer this as well. And then there is the redevelopment of the administration building. So this is just some updates, which is I wanted to share with the committee. So basically, as of July 15th, the building was vacated by staff. And the construction firm, which is Emmons and Mitchell, took it over on July the 18th. So to date, level 0, which is the basement. So for most of you who have been to the county building, that is where we used to meet in the Frontenac room and where the paramedic suite was. So that is what we call level 0 in the basement. So all of the walls have been taken down. And all we're waiting for now is on permits, building permits, which we anticipate we should have very shortly. In terms of the main building, again, all the demolition has been done. So if you were to walk into it, you wouldn't recognize it. And I wish Brianna was here today because she would be able to show you some of the pictures. But anyway, the demolition has been done. And again, we're just waiting on permits. And then as well as I mentioned, so we have the 2023 Celebrating Accessibility Award, which has now been advertised. So we put that out for advertisements a few weeks ago. Again, it will be promoted on all of our social media channels. It will be promoted on the Engage Frontenac website. Based on comments today, we will also see if we can just get a big news article put on the websites as well. So the county will put it on theirs, and then I will reach out to the 4 townships to see if they can put it on theirs as well. So Matt will reach out to the previous Access Award winners to see if there's any suggestions that they might like to offer. And then again, we have all the social media outlets that get regular posts on that Access Award. So the committee may want to start thinking about that as well. We will need to have a meeting sometime in early November to choose that winner. Currently, it closes October 31st. And it's the hope that we have it in line and ready to go with the warden's reception this year. But the date has not been set for that yet. But if that doesn't work out, then we would do it at the December council. Was there any questions on that before I move on to the next one? So, so the next one is the AMCTO Participating in Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act review. So there is a review going out for the AODA. It's done every so many years. So as you can see there, the scope of the review will include the effectiveness and evaluation of the AODA, building awareness and community support, and compliance and enforcement incentives. So anybody is able to add feedback. So this is the AMCTO. So the AMCTO is the Association of Municipal Clerks and Treasurers of Ontario. It's an organization that most of us belong to in the clerks world. So I belong to that. I imagine that James Thompson also belongs to that, as well as Angela Maddock. Tara would belong to that, Tara Meesk. Cindy Deacham and Kathy McMunn would belong to that. So it's an organization that supports municipal clerks, managers, and treasurers. So they are our main advocacy. So they will be providing a submission to this review as well on behalf of municipalities. But in terms of that, individuals are also able to go onto that website as well and provide any comment or feedback. So I would encourage anybody from the committee to go on there and identify yourself as a person with a disability and let them know what's working and what's not working, and if there is sufficient enforcement out there. And that was it for the updates that I had in terms of what's happening at the county over the last quarter.
All right, thank you, Janet. Number 8, were there any township updates from any of the from North Central South?
So I do send an email out to the townships. I believe I sent it out 3 weeks in advance this time, but there were no updates received. Now I do know that Ms. Longmire forwarded one to me late yesterday, which I believe I have put up onto the agenda as an addendum as well, and forwarded it to the committee earlier this morning. So those were just from Central.
Okay. I don't believe there's any communications or other business. Should we set up a time for our next meeting then?
So I am just trying to, the Access Award closes on the 31st of October. So I'm hoping if we can get some form of a meeting, perhaps November 1st or November 2nd in there, if that works for everybody. I just want to make sure that we have something on the books so that we can make the warden's reception. I am working with Brianna to see when that's going to be. If it ends up that the warden's reception ends up late October, then we can always push it to the December meeting when we present that award.
Either day is fine with me, Mr. Chair, second or third.
Okay.
And how does it look for me?
They either would work
Yeah.
for me as well.
Yeah, I think it'll work for me as well.
Okay,
Either day.
so I'll put in, oh, you know what? I'm sorry, I'm not here that week. I'm not
next-
here that
The
week,
next
but
week, I'm not here either because that's deer hunting.
So how about you leave it with me and I will touch base with Brianna and see if she's able to run. That would be the only item on the agenda, would be the selection of the Access Award winner. And we will know in advance if we receive any nominations. But as always, I would encourage you to start thinking about somebody who you think might be a good recipient for this year, because we don't tend to garner a lot of applications or submissions.
The other factor through you, Mr. Chair, to Jeanette, is the election. In actual fact, maybe some of the members that are sitting here won't be with us after the 24th, although we sit till November. I understand that. So it's just another
Yes,
factor.
it's until November 14th.
We'll keep that in mind. Okay.
All right. So I guess we'll just adjourn the meeting. Oh, actually, yeah.
Can I suggest, Mr. Chair, that the next meeting be at the call of the chair or with Jeanette and the call of the chair?
Sorry, what was that?
How about the next meeting be the call of the chair?
Okay. When is a good time then for?
Well, I'm going to work with Brianna first to find out. There's a couple of items that play into this, right? The first is the warden's reception. So if the warden's reception ends up being in the middle to end of October, then we would have to have the Access Award presented at the December council meeting, which is what we used to do, because it coincided with December 3rd being International Day of Persons with Disabilities Day.
Right.
So if that's the case, then we can actually push the meeting. Yeah, I don't know when we could push the meeting past the 15th, only because under our procedural bylaw, committee members stay appointed until they're replaced. This wouldn't work for the two counselors, but it would still allow you to have quorum to pick that winner. Yeah, it's a little trickier this year with it being an election year, and with the election in term of council moving this year.
Okay, well, we can follow up on that. So I'll just get a motion then to adjourn.
Also move.
Okay, Jerry and Bill, all in favor? And,
In favor.
All right, super.
In favor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Jeanette, good job
Okay, thank
on the
you very much.
report.
All right, thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. So, yes, okay, sorry, that was all I had.
Okay. All right. Okay, well, thank you, everybody. We will talk soon then.
All right, bye, everyone. Have a great day.
You too.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.